It's a 50-minute flight from Manila to the island of Busuanga in the Philippines. Coron is the major town in the area, but we are staying in the small settlement of Concepcion, closer to the shipwrecks we have come here to dive. US forces continued their island-hopping campaign to Japan, reaching the Philippines in September 1944, sinking 8 vessels lying at anchor in Coron Bay. Chuk Lagoon, once known as Truk, in Micronesia, under attack in February 1944 by US forces. This iconic picture shows one of the most famous shipwrecks in the world on fire, the San Francisco Maru. By the next morning, she would have foundered, taking her $1 million cargo of supplies to the bottom. Most of the vessels here will sink in the next 12 hours, including the Hoki Maru. She would explode that night, leaving visiting divers another remarkable shipwreck. One vessel that did survive this raid is seen burning in the far right of the photograph. She is the Akitsushima. After being hit on both days of the attack, she will escape to Palau, only to be caught in Coron Bay 7 months later. The Akitsushima will be our first dive. This is my second visit to the area. The first was way back in 1998. It will be interesting to see how the wrecks are holding up after almost 30 years. Lying on her port side, the depth ranges from 20 to 36 metres. Her gunwale is covered in coral trees, with many lionfish seeking shelter. The main mast, seen here directly behind the bridge, still defying gravity and remains in place. The top of the structure. Swimming back to the hull, escorted by the best of Mother Nature, thousands of tiny glass fish. Very impressive. The Akitsushima was built in 1941 as a seaplane tender. She had the capabilities to carry the largest seaplane of World War II, the Kawanishi H-8K. The aircraft had a reputation of being extremely hard to shoot down. A fine example of the Emily can be seen in the shallow water of Fatan Island in Chuk Lagoon. This is a massive aircraft even by today's standards, with a wingspan of 38 metres. The circumstances of this particular aircraft vary. Some say she escaped after being shot up by US fighters, only to crash on landing. The base of the ship's aft mast, positioned on the stern and used to launch and retrieve the aircraft with a crane. I followed the crane out along the sand to the remains of 2 pulley mechanisms. The visibility on our dives on the Akitsushima were extremely poor, which is a major disappointment for any underwater photographer. Although these wrecks are not known for their great water clarity, conditions can be quite reasonable at times. Structurally, the hull towards the bow has collapsed, which tends to take the gloss off the wreck as a dive. However, after so many years after World War II, it's very predictable. Our next dive was the oil tanker, the Okikawa Maru, the largest wreck in Coron that was built in 1943. It's a huge swim to the bow, but no real photo opportunities as much of the structure past the bridge has fallen. However, her stern, which is largely undamaged, is an excellent dive for all levels. Looking towards the stern with her rear docking bridge still intact, the depth here is only 12 metres and has a great assortment of marine life. The starboard promenade deck on the aft deckhouse is where this footage was taken. On day 3, our group took a 45-minute bus ride to the northern side of Bushunga Island to what I believe to be the premier shipwreck in the area. Diving from these style of boats in the enclosed waters of the Philippines is a pure pleasure. No great hurry to get there, lots of room, easy to get in the water, and more importantly, easy to get out. Especially for geriatric divers like myself. The wreck's remarkable location is marked by a buoy attached to the rear mast, just visible in this photo. She is the Kyokuzan Maru. The Kyokuzan Maru is very much in the class of many of the shipwrecks in Truk Lagoon. Although she has been heavily salvaged, like the other wrecks in the area, she remains largely intact. A bathroom amidships. And the remains of a staff car in the rear hold. Gun platforms, usually mounted on the bow and stern of most merchant vessels in wartime. These structures are common on all the wrecks in the area. All the guns have been salvaged. Of more value to the salvages were the propellers. All have been removed. In summary, a great shipwreck with far better water clarity than the other side of the island that deserves multiple dives and well worth the effort to get there. After lunch on a nearby beach, we set our sights on diving a Nakajima KI-43, allied name Oscar, which was accidentally found while searching for shipwrecks in March 2016.
Make me proud. Watch your head.
The aircraft sits in 42 metres. Water clarity here was poor, so no panoramic view, but I never passed an opportunity to dive a new wreck. Next on our list was the Irako Maru, which was the standout dive on my last trip in 1998. Our descent line took us down via the forward mast and some stunning growth on the top of the structure. After the forward mast, much of the decking has succumbed to time. So many of the good filming opportunities I remember no longer exist. Lying on the deck are approximately a half a dozen of these wheels or stands, their use unknown. There are still several small deck houses up forward which would look good in clearer water. On past experiences, I know water clarity does get better on this site than this occasion. One wreck I rated better this visit than the last was the Olympia Maru, sitting upright in 30 metres. Schools of yellow snapper call this wreck home. Her deck is only 23 metres down and covered in sunlight. A photograph of the Olympia Maru pre-war. When hostilities broke out, a gun was fitted above the bow. The skeleton of that gun platform still stands. Our last day in the area, we set off to dive the wreck of the Nanshin Maru, a small civilian tanker sunk in the 1944 raid, located off Black Island. It's a 90-minute run out to this remarkable place, which reminds me of the opening scenes in many of the Jurassic Park movies, where the helicopter approaches the Mystery Island. And speaking of mysteries, I could find no definitive answer to the name of this wreck on the beach. The wreck we have come to dive lies just 100 metres from the shore. Once known as the Black Island Wreck, it has been identified as the Nanshin Maru. Her configuration is similar to this slightly larger vessel. Resting on a slope with her stern in 23 metres and her bow in 32, this wreck is a perfect fit for all levels of divers. Well, that sums up our trip. One of the best dive holidays I've had for quite a while. There are enough shipwrecks to keep rust lovers happy. Although most of the wrecks are not Trunk Lagoon standard, the above water scenery and the reduced costs to get and dive there make this destination well worth visiting.